her brother.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining On Air with Russell of Hotels. I'm sorry, oh, okay. That's good. It's funny, people, they know I'm doing this show during this time, but they don't lay off texting me and calling me. But anyway, thank you so much for joining On Air with Russell of Hotels, live hospitality talk show. Today is Tuesday, August 16th, and this is show number 171. Whoever thought, I have to pinch myself before every show. I have to pinch myself and I say, the average length of a podcast goes 6 episodes, and I've done 171. So I'm like, wow, that's got to be a blessing. That's a great thing, and I'm happy and blessed to even continue to do this show. And every week I look forward to doing the show. I mean, regardless if it's just me, if I have a guest, I get more excited when I have a guest, of course. But I don't ever want to stop. You know what I mean? I mean, I can honestly say I'll do this until they pry me away from the microphone, okay, and say that's it. You can't do it anymore. As you can see, I entertain myself too. But as you can see to my right, I'm not sure if it's to your left or my right. It's right on my screen. I have Chef Miss Tasha Jackson here. We're going to introduce her in a minute. But first, before I get to that, I want to let people know that if you're live on YouTube, if you can hit that subscribe button, I would appreciate it. I'm trying to get my subscription members up. If you can help me, I would appreciate it. If you don't want to, you know what, you don't have to, but I'm just asking. So, also I do encourage, Tasha doesn't know this, but we do encourage, interaction here. We like people to come on and say, hey, or just let me know that you're there or where you are, and then I'll give you a shout out. So at the very minimum, you're going to get some type of shout out, from me or from us. So, and please feel free to ask questions if you have questions, and as long as they're appropriate. I'm not gonna, I ain't standing for no BS today or any other day. But anyway, that's just how it is. But also, this is at the same time, it's a live show on YouTube. The replay will be on LinkedIn later, and then also at the same time, I'm doing the podcast. So if anything happens to the video, I didn't mention this to you a little while ago, Tasha. But if anything happens to your video, we just keep it going because we're still doing the audio portion of it. So I forgot to give you that disclaimer, but we're gonna continue to do it. So because sometimes this stuff freezes because of whatever. Wi-Fi issues on either side or in the world somewhere. So, and it's happened a couple times, so that's why I'm saying it now. But we want to say hello to Dylan. Dylan, I love how avid a reader Tasha is. She is such a motivated leader. Okay. She just got those back up. That's just a prop. Okay. So don't get it twisted. I don't know where you're getting that from, Dylan, but hey, that's fine. If she fooled me too, okay? So that's a joke, okay? I'm sure she is an avid reader, but I'm gonna tell you this: if you happen to see books in the background, in my background, I'm not reading those books, okay? I can honestly say that that's for show. All right, now Tasha's books are not for show because we're gonna get into it a little bit why I'm saying their books are not for show. But let me I'm not going to waste any time with, because normally I would go into, industry stuff and all that. Well, today, Tasha is our industry stuff, okay? So she's today's guest, and I'm going to read her bio, and then we're going to get her off she's muted right now, but we're going to take her off mute, and then we're going to start the interview. So, or start the show. I don't like to say, we're going to start the conversation. It's not necessarily an interview. It's not an interview. It's just, she's just on the show. We're just going to be talking, just talking shop. You know what I mean? Talking food and beverage stuff. So without further ado, it took Tasha about 18 years to figure out the part she loves most about the culinary arts and hospitality industry. She went from a cashier at a family-owned barbecue joint in Berkeley, California, to working for larger corporate entities like Red Lobster, Ted's Montana Grill, TGI Fridays, Sodexo, Carrabba's, and Romano's Macaroni Grill. After various stints as a server, bartender, and restaurant manager, she decided to step back and invest in her foundational knowledge by attending culinary arts culinary school at Le Cordon Bleu. Upon exiting the program, Tasha re-entered the industry as a chef and continues to work today as an educator in the space, preparing high school students for the industry as a high school culinary arts and hospitality instructor. From all of her experiences, what she loves best is operations and providing elevated experience, elevated service experiences for guests. I love that too. As a homage to that passion, she has helped develop the 10 keys to above average service, a system that will help independent restaurant operators discover how to unlock the best in their front of the house team and turn their servers into salespeople. So, without further ado, we want to introduce, step to the microphone, Miss Tasha Jackson, chef extraordinaire.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate you, agreeing to come on.
Truly an honor. I appreciate the invitation.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So okay, so let's get into it. Let's, like I said, we're here, and Dylan's already made a couple comments. So anyone else is out there, feel free to jump in and ask questions if you like. Let's see, must have all restaurant owners. Patrice Dominique must have for all restaurant owners. That's what she said. Okay. Not sure if you know Patrice Dominique, but
That's a he. Yeah,
Oh,
we're
I'm
in an
sorry.
accountability. Yeah, we're in an
Okay.
accountability group together. A
Okay.
dynamic individual. Dynamic
Okay.
individual. Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
good. Very good. Okay. And I apologize for that. So where did this journey begin? I read your bio. The bio is one thing, but give me the nuts and bolts behind this. So a barbecue joint in Berkeley, California. I didn't know you had any ties to California, first of all. So let's start there.
Yeah. Let's start at the beginning. So I was actually born and raised in California, San Francisco Bay Area, and so the very very first place I ever worked was Boston Market as a cashier. But the second place I worked was Casey's Barbecue. Still alive and kicking today on San Pablo Avenue, a community staple, and is family owned. And so that's where I really fell in love with hospitality, just people coming there to kind of meet and greet each other. The food is awesome. It was more than the food though. It was just like the environment. It was like the glue that brought people together, and also kind of a rite of passage. So it's owned by a second cousin. And so a lot of the cousins would come work there in the summertime and stuff. And I really kind of got a chance to hone my skills, even play around in the kitchen. I didn't know what I was doing, but I would like shadow my cousin, trimming ribs and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I want to try making potato salad. I still have pictures. My sister worked there as well, and we'd be back there peeling potatoes for potato salad, like everything from scratch. So that was the place where I really was like, oh man, this is cool. Like I really just fell in love with hospitality and that feeling of hospitality.
Cool. Now, how
Yeah.
how old were you during that time?
Oh, I had to be around 15,
Okay. Okay.
16.
Okay, so
Yeah.
early you got
Yep.
involved in hospitality. Did you okay when you were doing that? Did you say okay you like doing this? It's probably fun because it's something new you maybe never done before. But did you look at that as like you know what I want to I want to do this for forever? What's the mindset at that point? Do you say that? Do you think that?
Absolutely not. That was never a thought. It was summertime, extra money. It wasn't something that I saw in my future. But as I like kind of grew up and moved away from home, since food service was the only thing I had really ever done, I continued to work in food service. And so as I continued working in food service, I tried other stuff. I would dibble and dabble in other stuff, but I would always come back. So when I moved to Atlanta, I lived in Atlanta prior to Charlotte for 15 years. When I moved to Atlanta for college, actually was like, my parents told me I had to go to college, so I was like, okay, cool. So I went. I had no idea what I wanted to do. Trying to figure out what to study. So I ended up in the mass media arts program, studying television specifically, and it was fun. At that time, that's when reality TV was really kicking
Mm.
up. And so I knew I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to follow somebody around with the camera as they, live their life. I was like, I don't want to do that. So I did television news for a little while. And the news is just depressing, man. I mean, I barely watch it. I watch just enough just to kind of know what's going on in the world, but
Mm-hmm.
it was a drain on me. And I was like, I can't do this either. And so, I went through a lot of trial and error trying to figure it out. But food service always called me back. I found myself on somebody's catering team or in somebody's restaurant doing something, and I just really loved it. And so, I just kind of kept going in that vein. It paid, as a server, I was, the managers was crying. They were crying about all the hours they were working. And I'm like, this is great. I don't know what y'all talking about. Servers, if you know what you're doing as a server,
Yeah.
you can make some pretty good money.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's how I kind of matriculated, so to speak.
Wow. Now, what was your first job away from the family restaurant? What place was your first job?
So my very, very first year of college, I went to UC Davis,
Oh,
and
you went
I
to
applied
UC
to
Davis?
my first year, yeah.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
but I was bored, to be honest. There was a lot of people there that were from my high school, and I was like, man, it's just cows and trees out here. Like I wasn't looking big picture. I was looking like, man, this is college. I want to have a good time. I was like, it's
Oh my
nothing to do
God.
here. I went to visit some friends who were in Atlanta that went to Clark Atlanta University. So when I went to visit Atlanta, I was like, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I need right here. So I ended up transferring. And did the Black college life. So at UC Davis, I applied to this company called Sodexo, and they do a lot of contracts with hospitals, universities, schools, things of that nature. And so I was part of their catering department. And then when I transferred, uh, wound up in Atlanta, I was like, oh, they have Sodexo too. So they had Sodexo still also running the cafeteria and the catering. So I was like, well, this is easy. So I just transferred over and continued catering with Sodexo. I did some other things too. I was like an RA, like, and did some other things. I had to work my way through school, so I was always
Mhm.
doing something. And so that was the first time, like, away from home, where I stuck my toe out into the industry, outside of the previous experience. Yeah.
Wow. That sounds fun. And you stuck when you had your first position. Was that as a server? Or was that as a busser? How'd you start?
I was a catering associate, so we would literally they would have meetings on campus or events, things like that, or even concerts and stuff. They would need to feed the
Mm-hmm.
artists, so we would pack up the chauffeurs, the food, hot food, bring everything over, set it up, tablecloths, get everything set up, nice plates, cups, all the things you need for a
Oh yeah.
catering, and then make sure that everything went smoothly, refill as needed. So that was kind of my role, was helping set up and get through service and then break down. So I didn't really step into serving until Red Lobster. Red Lobster was my very first serving job. So I had a friend she worked takeout for Red Lobster, and she was like, "Man, these servers." She was talking good about the money the servers were making, and actually the Red Lobster she worked at was like the busiest one, and I think like in the southeast or something, near the airport, kind of. So I was like, "Well, let's try it out." You talking a good talk. Let's see what's going on. So I applied. They hired me, and I just jumped straight in. And she was right. It was nice. It was
Wow.
good.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good. I
Yeah.
like that. I like that. I think a lot of us, well, not a lot of us, but I got into catering. I didn't. It's funny. I went to a hospitality school, but I had no hospitality background. My jobs were, anything other than that. But then there was like this job fair I remember in the summer, and they were like, "Hey, summer jobs," and there was this corporate catering corporate catering company. What they did, they specialize in corporate picnics. So you would, have to get everything together at their home base, which was like out in the middle of nowhere. But anyway, you had to get everything together. You talk about Schaefer's and all that. My job was I was a beer jockey, so I had to set up the beer stand and all that kind of stuff, beer and wine and things like that. But you had to help everybody else set up as well. But you're talking about the money. The money was it was great. It was phenomenal. I mean, back then, I mean, I'm dating myself. It's probably about 30 something years ago. But they were paying like over $20 an hour then. You know what I mean? I was like, so, but it's just a weekend job, right? So it was Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. And then if you did overtime, of course, they had to pay, time and a half or double time or whatever. So it was like I had enough money in those 2 days for, like for the next 2 or 3 weeks. You know what I mean? So, but it was great. So no, I understand how the money can entice you to do certain things. And at a moment there, I was like, well, hey, maybe I should go into catering. Maybe I should do this, do that instead of. And I was starting to forget about I'm here to go to school, right? Because the
Right.
money was so good. But then you think, well, is this money going to be there forever? Is it going to sustain? I mean, do I want to do that? So I mean, that's where my mindset is. I'm not sure where your mindset was, but I guess that's why you're on here, because I'm gonna ask you. So were you still got out of school, right, and said, I'm going to restaurants full time, or stay with catering, or how did that work out?
So the transition was when I finished at Clark Atlanta. I tried television news, so I was part of a team. We did a public asset on a public access station. We did two live news shows a day. I kind of ran that course for a little while, and then after a while, it's like the content was draining. Like I shared with you, so I was like, I can't do this anymore. So there was a stint in between. I've always had kind of that entrepreneurial bug. So there's a stint in between. It was like, okay, I'm just going to do freelance videography. That like I'll
Mm,
just because I have this skill set that I pay good money for in this mass media department that I was able to learn. So I would go videotape like Atlanta. There's always stuff happening. So events, parties, weddings, whatever. Compress it on DVD for people, give them the product. So the way I bumped my head on that first adventure was that in the spring and summer it was great. Like clients coming from everywhere, like everything's great. Then it would kind of slow down. So I didn't really understand. I didn't have a mentor or anything. I didn't really understand business. I was just out there trying to figure it out. I didn't really understand. You kind of want to stack your chips when it's flowing for the slower seasons, and that there's cycles to business sometimes depending on
mm,
the
mm,
industry. So I didn't get any of that. So spring and summer, I'm like, yes, all right, let's go. And then fall and winter, it was winter. Okay, it was winter. So I was like, man, I don't know, I don't know. So I was like, man, I want to pursue this building a business thing, but also need money to pay my bills. So I was kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place and trying to figure that piece out. And so again, since my background was food, I was like, well, let me just get a regular job in between. So until while I figure this out. And so I went back to the tried and true, right? Food service had never let me down. So I went back and I went back to Sodexo again. That's part of the advantage of working for a large nationwide corporation is you can kind of like bop around a little bit. So I went
mm,
back to working for Sodexo at Emory University, and they ran like all the food service there, the cafeteria, Starbucks, Einstein's, all the retail locations. So I ended up working for Starbucks at the biggest Starbucks like on a campus, college campus at that time. I don't know if anybody's trumped them yet, but so I had the experience of okay, also like kind of two bosses now. So you have the Starbucks standard, and then you have the Sodexo standard, and you have the marriage of the two. And then I came in as a supervisor, so figuring out those two pieces, and then also how to supervise people, because I had never really been in that type of position before. So that was interesting, kept me challenged because I like a good challenge. Trying to figure that out. And so I had some political heartaches there. So a little bit of drama. Just young, not really understanding how to navigate. If somebody feels threatened by you or your position, what you should do, what you should say, and how to. I hadn't really learned that skill, and so I bumped my head a little bit there, and I was like, I don't have to take this. I'll leave it. So that's very long story short. Very long story short. So yeah, I kind of bumped my head a little bit there, and then that was the transition when I left Sodexo at Emory University, that I transitioned into serving at Red Lobster. And it wasn't really, it was really like at that moment in my mind was I just needed money to make ends meet while I worked on this other thing. That was
Mhm.
my kind of thought process. Still wasn't in the mind frame of this is what I wanted to do. It was like, I know I can get that. I know I can get the money up. I know I'm
Mhm.
good at it. I know they'll welcome me with open arms. So let's run that play. Um, so I didn't really make a decision to fully dedicate myself um, to food service as a career until I bartended for Red Lobster as well. And then a manager position came up. And I was like, well, if I'm gonna do it, I mean, why not, try to take it all the way and take it
Mhm.
to the next step? So um I talked to my general manager at the time. He was somewhat encouraging, but also it was kind of like a wait your turn conversation. Like, you're doing great. I have some things in mind for you. Keep doing what you're doing. And I was
Mhm.
like, nah, I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. So with positions that come up, anybody can apply. So I went online and I put my application in. I took the test, and the district manager popped up like, where does this girl come from? Who is she? What is, like, I didn't have a recommendation. I was just like, I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring. And he's like, why don't I know about you? I said, I don't know, but let's talk about it. So he interviewed me and he promoted me. And I became a manager, a service manager for Red Lobster.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the next step up. And that's when I started to really get serious at that
Okay.
point.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That sounds interesting. So from there, you transition, or when did you transition? Say, you know what, I need some more experience. And how'd you get into Le Cordon Bleu? Where did that fit in?
Well, money's not the most important thing, but it's pretty important. So
Uh
I,
huh.
over time, having conversations with other managers and becoming more aware of what was happening um, in the industry, I just noticed the kitchen managers always got paid more. And I'm like, well, we're working the same number of hours. We both here in the trenches together on the same shift. So I'm just trying to figure out, what's going on here. So, in my research, um, I started kind of asking questions and paying attention, and it's like, well, you're doing a couple of things that I'm not doing. So you're doing inventory, and looking at food costs more, and things of that nature. So I'm like, okay, I just wanted to position myself to be able to move into that role. And so that's when I was probably in maybe year 4 or 5 at Red Lobster. I said, I'm going to take a pause, step back. And that's when I decided to go to culinary school. It wasn't a necessary step, but I just wanted to empower myself to be able to ask for what I wanted. And I felt like that would be a good chess move. And so it turned out well for me, and so took a pause. A couple of people said I was crazy. Because I didn't feel like I could do the program and still have a manager schedule. Because the manager schedule, I mean, it's 60 hours a week. Sometimes you open, sometimes you close, sometimes you're there all day on a swing shift, 11 to 9 or something. So I was like,
Mhm.
that and school, I don't know. So I took a pause, and that's when I went to go work for TGI Fridays. So I took a pause, stepped down. I gave a notice and everything, did everything right.
Mhm.
Um, And I started serving again at Fridays. I was like, these bills not
Okay.
gonna stop. So,
Okay.
you
Exactly.
know,
Exactly.
but the
No.
server shift, you can get in, get out, make your money 4 or 5 hours and be good. So
hmm
yeah.
That's good. I like that. I like that you didn't need to go back to school, but excuse me, you knew you would be more marketable. And that's what a
Exactly.
lot of times people don't tell you that. If you don't have a mentor or whatever, sometimes even a mentor don't even think about that kind of stuff. So, but real quick, Miss Robbie Moncrief says we have all had that wait your turn conversation. That train is never
Mm.
late. Yes, that is that is so true. So yeah, people because you're always what am I trying to say? You're always working for them, meaning
Mm-hmm.
they always have their best interest, not your best interest. Like, if you leave, then I'm gonna have to work harder. You know what I mean? Or, if you take a higher position, well, then, now I'm threatening things like that. So, yeah, we've all had that conversation where I'm living someone else's dream other than my dream. I mean, I can just a real quick example. Is that my stint as a general manager for a hotel. That was never my goal to be a general manager for a hotel. My goal was to be a director of sales and marketing at a big box hotel, right? And that was it. That was my focus. And then I let money, dictate and my executive director, whatever his position was, I let him dictate what my next move was, right? And I didn't have to take it, but they started dangling money, and that's when I knew that money ain't everything. Okay, just because you're making more money, it comes with a lot more crap that you didn't want to deal with, and that's the reason why you didn't want to take that position in the first place. But I
Mm-hmm.
went ahead and took it, and I kicked myself. I was like, damn, why did I do this? I mean, that was never my goal. But anyway, it's not about me; it's about you. So, but I had to throw that in
I
there,
get it.
but because I understand where you're coming from. So and like I said, being marketable is the key. And I always tell people learn a lot. Whatever you have to do to make yourself more marketable for that next position, you need to do that. If that's cross training yourself in different departments, and I'm speaking maybe from more of a hotel aspect, but and this is for the people that are listening. Whatever you don't know within that industry or within the box that you're working in, learn something that may learn more than that may, like I said, you're a lot more marketable than everyone else, and that's the key right here. So I appreciate you for what you said and appreciate what you did. So okay, so now you're finished with Le Cordon Bleu, and what do you do after that?
So before I jump there, something you said sparked something in me too.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's not just always about going to school to make yourself marketable. There's
Hmm.
other things you can do as well. So before I made that jump, one of the things I did was to kind of make myself stand out and be able to elevate. I was like, I'm looking at the progression of other people around me. Like, okay, the high performers, they're certified trainers. They're doing this. They're doing that. So I would come in before my shift or on an off day and like shadow the trainers. And I tell my GM I want to be a trainer. He's like, okay, cool. So I would come in. All you have to do is give me a little bit of a green light. That's all I need. So
Hmm.
I'll come in, shadow the trainer. Well, how are you teaching the new servers coming in? So I did that enough times, and they're like, okay, you're a trainer now. So I'm like, okay, cool. And then I would come in and shadow the ladies in the back, doing the prep and like working with the food and stuff. Show me what you're doing. Where's the recipe? How do I put the food together? Right. And so I took it upon myself to take that step forward. So, somebody might be like, well, I can't afford school, or I don't have the time, or there's other things as well that you can do to increase that marketability, like you said, and just get the leg up. Cause there wasn't a lot of people coming in on an off day or early before their shift. I didn't see anybody else doing it. Well, I was like, okay, how do I stand out? How do I take it up a notch? Right. And so
Hmm.
it's just a lot of different ways. Sorry to my cat lovers, but there's different ways to skin a cat, right? So
Yeah. Oh yeah.
so yeah, just throw that in there.
Oh well. Now you
Yeah.
mentioned a lot of hours. Now, is that typical for restaurant people to work a bunch of hours? And what would you say an average back then? I mean, when you're working, what was the average hours per day that you're working?
Yeah, pretty typical 60-hour work week for managers.
Mm,
Sometimes more than that. But you take your time when you can. Like it might be a day where it's slow or nothing's happening and it's two other managers in the building, but hey, go home. You try to take your time back when you can. But
mm,
typically about a 10-hour day. Um, just kind of depending, on what's going on. Weekends obviously are you need more leadership in the building because it's typically a heavier flow of traffic. And then the places that I was working, we would be open later, so it'd be an extra hour of service on the back end. So instead of closing at
mm,
10, we close at 11, right? So
mm,
yeah, and then when I did finally kind of make that transition into the kitchen, it was other things like, okay, if we run out of something, we run out of steaks, hey, you did the order, you better go figure it out. So I might have to come on an off day or something, or before or after shift, and go drive to another restaurant to get, or drive to the store to get product, because it's on you. You did the order, maybe the par was off or whatever.
mm, mm.
Hey, my GM didn't want to hear none of that. She was like, "Where's the food? Make it happen." And and she was old school too. So if the cleaning wasn't tight the night before, she
Mm,
might snap a couple pictures that, hey, you need to come in here and clean up. You let them leave the line, without
mm.
properly cleaning up or wrapping the food. She calling me like, hey, come on in. We need you. Come help sanitize or clean up. She got me right though. She got me right because it's like that attention to detail.
Oh
Is
yeah,
super
no, you
important.
you definitely
Yeah.
got to have that, especially in food service. You
Oh
have
yeah.
to have that attention to detail because if you don't, well, well, a lot of other stuff can happen if you don't have that attention
I
to
mean, you could
detail.
kill
Exactly.
somebody.
Exactly.
You can make
I
them
was
very.
gonna say that. I was gonna say
It's
that. Yes.
real. It's real.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
real.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Foodborne illnesses and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And
It's
yeah, I mean
it's
that's
really
why
real.
people get trained. A lot of people don't realize that there's food training. You go for any restaurant you work in, you have to have that. I don't know, it's a certificate or certification or whatever. So
Mhm.
often, I believe that you
Mhm.
have to do
Absolutely.
to test.
At least every 5 years, food safety certification
Yeah.
has to be completed. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's and that's part of what I teach my students. We go through all of that. It's an awesome program. They get to learn all the food safety and sanitation things, and
Mm-hmm.
they get to actually take the test because it's a test you have to pass to get certified, and they get to take the
Mm.
test as well. Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
Okay, well then you just transition. See, you just transition to. You said
Oh,
teaching. You said teaching.
yeah.
What do you mean teaching? So we've already, and I bounce around in these questions, so I may ask a question now, but still go back to what we were just talking about a couple minutes ago. But because you transitioned kind of into the teaching part, what do you mean? Who are you teaching? What are you teaching?
So I'm currently a culinary arts and hospitality teacher at a high school here in Charlotte, and it's a really really awesome program. I mean, it rivals the content that I had the opportunity to learn when I went to culinary school. I mean,
Mm,
it's really elevated, and so it's part of what's called CTE, Career and Technical Education. That's the department we're under. And so there's a lot of other departments as well. They can learn computer programming, they can learn business, um, you know, but the culinary arts piece, the food science piece, that's where I live. And so that when the kids pick what's called our pathway in CTE, they take multiple classes. So if they start at the base level, culinary one, they can go to two, then three. They can do an internship at the end. But if they go through that entire pathway, they can come out of high school ready, like above average, like more
mm,
than ready for the industry. Having the food safety certification, we do hands-on cooking. They get to connect with people in the industries. We have mentors and other people who come in and talk to the kids. I mean, they're more than ready to get out there and make something happen. And because they do have that food safety certification and the knowledge and the hands-on experience, um, they can come out making more than the starting wage for somebody their
okay.
age. Or we're doing caterings on campus and in the community. We're going to keep pushing that this year even more, building out the catering program so they actually get to see, oh, okay, somebody orders the food, from somebody orders a meal, from the food ordering of the ingredients to prepping the ingredients to cooking the ingredients, bring it together as a meal and then serving it. And then the fun part of cleaning up after and bringing everything back. Right. So they
Mm-hmm.
get that whole experience. They get the opportunity to compete in cooking competitions, get scholarships and stuff like that
Wow.
if they want to go to culinary school. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really an awesome program. Yeah.
Wow, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
And we had a brief conversation before we went live earlier, and one of the things I brought up, and this stems from a conversation I had with someone else, a professor at the college I went to, and I said, "What are we doing, um, to let people know that the culinary arts, hotels, restaurants, whatever, that's a viable career for someone coming out of high school. I mean, what are we doing outreach? Are we doing?" And she said that there was a lack of outreach for that, to reach out to high school students and things like that. But you're living that, so and I appreciate that. I didn't even know that. I mean, I read your bio, but it didn't even click that okay, she's teaching at a high school. She's teaching culinary arts. So I appreciate that, and now I know at least one person or one school is actually doing that. So I really have an appreciation for that, because I always tell people I know people that rose to the ranks of general managers and VPs of operations for certain hotel companies out there, that their first job was a dishwasher or a bellman and things like that. And that's true. I mean, with a lot of hard work, and you got to have somebody on your side to a mentor, or at least to push you in the right direction, I guess. But it does happen, and I've seen it happen several times. So I mean, like I said, I appreciate my hats off to you for being one of those people that that put it on the line and let people know this is how you can do this. You can either start your own restaurant, a catering truck, or whatever. And you're giving those skills out there. So I do appreciate that.
It's a lot of fun. Sometimes they work that nerve in the back of my neck too, but
Well, they're
but
supposed
we
to do
have a
that.
lot of
That's their
fun.
job too.
Yeah, yeah, we have a lot of fun with it though.
That is cool. That is cool. So okay, so high school teacher, culinary arts. Um, what have you ever had aspiration? And it's just a question, and maybe you have, maybe you haven't. But like I said, I jump around on these questions of owning a restaurant or a food truck.
You know, my dear Russell, I told you at the beginning, I've always had kind of the entrepreneurial kind of bug,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
So I've thrown my hat in the ring in that area as well. So I've had a catering company with a previous business partner. Um, we had a food truck, which I wish mentorship is, man, it's so important. It's a long story with the food truck, but long story short, we didn't buy right. It was a used truck, and we never. It had a bunch of problems, and we got stuck in the rain on a hill one day driving this truck. And that was the point where I was like, you know what, this was cute, but I'm done with the food truck. So I've done cater, and so we also had a small restaurant in Atlanta, and I didn't understand marketing. So sometimes you look back on things, you're like, man, if I only knew then what I know now, things would have been way different, right? But it
Oh
was
yeah.
all part of it's part of my origin story, so
Exactly.
I
Hmm.
wouldn't change it, but not understanding marketing, the location wasn't what it needed to be, and the crowd wasn't quite what it needed to be. So, and that's the important thing that people sometimes don't think about when they start a restaurant or a bar or a lounge or whatever. Even in the hotel space, I'm sure it's the same, is that it's not just the product. Like, there's so many other things that have to work together to make it make sense, right?
Yes.
So your labor costs, your food costs, your marketing, your branding, and your service. And I tell chefs all the time, like, you can cook fantastic. Can you teach somebody else how to cook? Because if not, you're handcuffing yourself to the restaurant. You have to be there, right? Like,
Mm,
you can cook great. The food looks good, it tastes good, the pictures are great. Maybe the branding and marketing is there, but are your servers and your front of the house people selling, or are they just taking orders? Because order takers are not money makers. Are they just standing there like, what can I get you to drink? Or are they talking about the specials and the features and all the work and energy you put into your food, right? Because if they're not doing that, you're losing on that end. So it all has to like work together, right? And so I've been there. I've done that. I would like to own a restaurant again. I have a concept that I've been holding on to for a couple years that I want to do, and it's really just because I want to do it because I want to do it. Like I don't want to do it necessarily. Like my one of my coaches gets on me all the time because like I don't really necessarily want to do it to make money. And she's like, "You say that about everything." It's like it's just the idea. It's just the idea that I want to bring to life. And if it makes money, cool. But I probably will. I probably will at some point open another restaurant. Yeah, just because it's an idea that I want to bring to life, and it's fun. I love operations, and then having the knowledge that I have now, it would be a very different experience and very different product from the previous attempt. Yeah,
Oh, yeah. I'm sure it would. I'm sure it would.
yeah.
So, okay, I have let's see, Patrice Dominique or Dominique Patrice says order takers are not money makers. And he said he put like three flames in back of it, and I agree. So explain, okay, and then we're gonna jump into this. And I see this book behind you says above average service, but before we get to
Mhm.
that, I know you got like 10 steps or 10 keys to above average service, but the comment that he made, order takers are not money makers. What does that really mean? Let's dissect that a little bit more.
Let's go. So if you've ever been out to eat and you sat down at a full service restaurant and a server comes up to you and they're like, "Hey, my name is Tasha. Can I get you something to drink?" That's an order taker activity. That's a default setting almost, just like when somebody says, "Hey, good morning," or "How are you?" And you say, "Oh, I'm fine, thanks. How are you?" Do you really want that person to go into how they really are? Depending on the person, right? But it's just a default. And so servers have a lot of default settings of just, can I get you something to drink? What are you having today? Are you ready to order? It's just the average experience. It's just an order
Mhm.
taking experience. You're simply,
Mhm. Mhm.
approaching the guests, seeing what they need, writing it down, or remembering it. I had to write everything down, my memory. But and then bringing them the product, cashing them out, and going on to the next person. But that, if you just a little bit, just a little bit above that, and that's where the above average service was born. It's like if we just kick it up just a little, instead of saying, "Hey, what can I get you to drink?" Offer something, suggest something. "Hey, have you tried our fresh fruit smoothie? We bring the fruit in every morning. It's gonna cool you down. I know it's hot outside. You can do strawberry banana. You can do pineapple mango. It's just the perfect crushed ice. Ooh, it's my favorite thing, right? Now I'm like, what flavors did you say? Right?
Mhm.
Instead of just, what can I get you to drink? Right? That's, just kick it up just a little bit with suggestive selling, or saying, "Hey, my favorite thing is this," or "My guests really love this." And then just going into a little bit of just a description of what the offering is. And it can just double sales just like that. I mean, because the cool thing, and you've been in sales, and the cool thing about selling in a restaurant space is that people come to spend money. Like they come in the door understanding that if they want to
Yeah.
eat and drink and be merry,
Mhm.
they have to
Mhm.
open their wallet. And
Yeah.
so it's not even a warm market, it's a super hot market.
Yeah.
All
You're
you have
right.
to
You're
do
right.
is just make the offer, right? And so that's what that means. Like, order takers are not money makers, because if you make those suggestive selling offers, people are going to be more enticed to buy. It's going to pique their curiosity, and your sales just don't have anywhere else to go but up. So that's what
You,
that's
you
all
know,
about.
you're absolutely right, and I agree 100%, 110%. And it's funny how servers in a lot of restaurants are they're robotic. You know, they repeat the same things for the most part. There's no personality. And I'm not gonna say all of them, but a good percentage of them. There's no personality. Case in point, I was in Detroit last week, and I was fortunate to have a good server because I don't eat meat. Okay, so I'm looking at the menu and I'm kind of picking through it. She goes, well, what are you looking for? And so she started suggesting things. As I said, I don't eat meat. She goes, well, you can do this. And you know what? Let me go check with the chef. I think he could prepare this without any dairy. And she took it upon herself to go back there and talk to the chef and came back and said, yes, he'll use coconut milk instead. Is that okay? Is that satisfactory? Like, that's great. I mean, for someone to, it's not just an afterthought, to someone to actually, put effort into this and to know that, okay, because at the end of the day, it's all about money. It's all about sales, and I don't care. Like you said, I'm there to spend money, or somebody was there to
Mm-hmm.
spend money. And you want people to be satisfied or whatever. So because the
Right.
more we eat, the more we're gonna drink, right? So and that
Mm-hmm.
that that ticket, the average ticket price is gonna go up. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she was generally interested in my satisfaction or raising that ticket average, but it didn't matter because I
Mm-hmm.
left. I had that feeling of hospitality, and hospitality, I always tell people, it's a feeling that you get from one person to the other. It's how you're made to feel, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I had the feeling of hospitality. I'm like, oh, this is great. And then the people that are with me, they're like, wow, okay, she's taking care of you. I'm like, yeah, yeah, hey, you're VIP. Okay, hey, whatever. I'm
There
just
you go.
happy that someone understands that, I got some issues when it comes to food, and she identified it, and she said, and she basically looked and suggested some things that what she could do, and then we went from there. So yeah, so no, I appreciate that. I appreciate the emphasis on service. So we're gonna get to, okay. So above average service, you have a book out, or what is that? And before you before you answer that, Robbie M says, great conversation about elevating the experience. Yes, we're all about that. Lauren Brown says, love this. Thank you so much, Miss Lauren Brown, for chiming in. And Dylan Beaumont says, I appreciate how Tasha incorporates the art of suggestion into her advice for proactive selling. See, so you know, we all love what you're doing, girl. So continue it.
I
So,
appreciate.
so if they weren't fans of yours before, they're fans of yours now. So there
All
we go.
right.
But the 10 keys to above average service. First, how did you come up with that? And then go through, if you could. I don't know how broad they are, but if you can touch on a couple of those for us.
We could touch on a few. So my sister, who I mentioned a lot, we started at Casey's Barbecue together in Berkeley, California, and she has also stuck and stayed in the industry. And we kind of it kind of I was trying to figure out a way for us to, with our powers combined, just share some of the things we've been able to learn working in some of these bigger corporate brands, right? And bring it to the independent restaurant operator. So, what I've found is that when you work for like a Red Lobster or TGI Fridays or these bigger brands, they have a lot of training in place and support in place, right? Videos and books and pamphlets and this and that. But the independent operator that woke up one day and for whatever reason and decided, hey, I'm going to open a restaurant, they may not have access to that information. And so, I was trying to figure out how do we take in true Robin Hood fashion, how do we take what we've learned from these corporate entities and package it in a way that we can give it to the independent operator who knows that there may be some things that they're missing, but they're not exactly sure what, and don't know the full picture of how to dot the I and cross the T, right? And so it's a joint effort. We co-authored this book and we tried to boil down, with our powers combined. Again, it's been about 40 years of service, right? 20 plus for me, 20 plus for her. And how do we boil that down to the most essential components of offering an elevated service experience? And so that's how the book was born. Us putting our heads together and saying, okay, what are the things you always do? Because we talk industry talk. I mean, we talk shop all the time. Like if people who go out to eat with us are usually slightly annoyed because we're looking at, oh, what did they say when they came to this? And it just happens naturally. We're not trying to be nitpicky. It's just like, what did they say? How did they approach the table? How long has it been? The appetizer's not out yet.
Mm,
And
mm,
so we just are in tune with that.
mm.
And so
Yeah.
how do we take that shop talk that we do naturally and turn it into something that we can share with people? And so that's where above average service was birthed. And so in the book we talk about how to build rapport. Is to me, it's in the book it says none of the keys are not in order of importance, but if I had to, somebody asked me a little while ago, if I had to pick the number one key, which one would it be? And it's really understanding how to build rapport with someone, because we understand it's important maybe, but not really how to do it all the time. Some people it comes naturally to them. They can just, like my sister, total natural. She can walk up to anybody, she gets it from her dad. She can walk up to anybody, 30 seconds, y'all are friends now. You can't tell them that you're not their best friend. She just naturally attracts people and makes people feel at ease. And but if you don't have that natural skill, how do you do it? You know what I mean? It's still important. So we go into detail about that, what the words to say, why word choice is important, even how you approach somebody. And so we talk about rapport. We talk about meal pacing. It's another thing that's super key. If you have ever been in a situation where you have your appetizer and the entree on the table at the same time, and then they're on the way with dessert in their hand, it's like, wait a minute, I didn't have a chance to finish my soup. Like, what's happening here, right? Something's going to get cold, right? How do you pace the meal? Why is it important? The importance of something like pre-bussing. When I was a service manager, I used to tell my servers all the time, don't make the guests beg you to pre-bus the table. So meaning the dirty dishes that I'm no longer using shouldn't just be sitting there in front of me, right? So if you ever seen somebody like stack them up, or you may have even ever done it, stack it up and then like push it to the edge of the table. Yes. I call it dry begging. Like, the guest is begging you, please take this pile of stuff. I've even stacked it up nicely for you. Just please, just take it. Yes. Right. So things like that. We talk about a lot, but we try to make it digestible, right? And try to make it palatable and make it make sense really in layman's terms. Like, if you're an independent operator and you don't know what you're missing, you can look at this as kind of a guide to say, oh, okay, we're not doing this, we're not doing that. And the last one I'll share with you, because I could probably go on for another hour, but I'm not gonna do that. But the last one I'll share is going the extra mile, right? So as a server specifically is what made me the most money, and how I made some of the highest gross sales in the restaurants that I was in for the owners, right, was going the extra mile. And something as simple as, they do it a lot in fine dining restaurants, but not casual dining as much, but wrapping the guest food for them, right? Mm-hmm. So like, oh, can I get a to-go box? Sure, absolutely. Would you mind if I box that for you? People are like, what? And some people are like, I don't want you to touch my food, but you offered, right? You went the extra, that little extra mile. And it's those little things all add up through the whole service experience. Even somebody has kids at the table, people they made that person, they're usually 99% of the time proud of that person. Talk to the kids. The kids sitting at the table and you looking at the parent, like, what are they going to have to drink? If the child's old enough, talk to the kid. Like, even if the parent interjects, like, oh no, they're not having Coke today, they'll have lemonade. No, you know what I mean? But at least try to engage the child, talk to the child, like, oh, they're so cute. Oh, how old are you? Things like that, right? So we created this book, and now I'm super excited that we're gonna take the next step and graduate the book into an online course as well. So that, again, those independent operators, if they maybe, another thing that a lot of chefs and operators don't think about is, like, when you open an establishment, you now become a trainer and a teacher, right? So it's not just the food, like we talked about earlier. We talked about branding, marketing, food costs, labor costs. You also now are a teacher, whether you signed up for that or not. You're a trainer, right? So how do you train your front of the house staff to have these attributes that you need them to have to help grow your sales? So for the manager or the owner who may be struggling with the training piece, we want to have a tool where they can literally sit their server in front of the computer or on their smartphone and say, watch this video. Okay, this is how you approach the table. All right, and then now let's role play it. Let's practice it. Right. And specific to your menu. This is how you approach the table. This is what you say. This is what you don't say. This is how you react to a problem. We talk about problem solving as well. This is how you solve the problem. So they're not running to you for every single little thing. Some stuff you can solve it. You don't have to run to me
Okay.
for
Yes.
every single little
Yes.
thing, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And so I'm super excited about the journey we're on, and the products that we're able to put out. And again, it's I I don't, what's the female version of Robin Hood? I just feel like Robin Hood, like just taking it from, I'm taking this stuff that we know, yo, you can have this to the independent operator. You can, let's share this with you, and it will help you, right? So that's
Well,
where we're
that's
at.
good. This is good. This is good. So, okay, when do we expect this to be out in the training? Are you in the process of working on that currently?
We're in the process now. So the first leg of the training is complete and available. So the first leg of the training, because as a manager or operator, you have to understand yourself what you want your team to implement, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
first leg is, hey, here's some video modules that explain the 10 keys, why they're important, and how you can continuously teach them, right? Because you can tell somebody something or show somebody something one time, but repetition equals retention, right? So you have to
Right.
continuously coach, continuously
Mm-hmm.
train as things
Mm-hmm.
happen and situations arise. So the first leg is complete. It's got a workbook with some templates in there. For instance, how to hold a pre-shift meeting, right? Don't just throw your people on the floor and say, "Hey, go take care of the guests." Well, hold on, right? Let's make sure you understand what our goal is for today. You know what I mean? Let's have a quick conversation about, what our specials are. Make sure your uniform is looking good. I'm not just gonna throw
Mm-hmm.
you out there, right? So we talk about things of that nature. So the second leg I'm working on now is the literal direct to server conversation. But people who get in now, of course, since they'll be with us on the journey, they'll pay less than the people who wait for the whole entire thing to be done and completed,
Yes,
and to jump in. So that's where we're at with it now.
sir. Very good. Well, good luck on that, and make sure I get a copy of that book so I can blow it up for you.
Absolutely. Make sure you send me your address, and I
Okay.
will personally deliver it to you.
Okay, I'm gonna send you my address, and I'll email it to you. And then if you could give me a size for your T-shirt, because I'm gonna send you a T-shirt, Russell
Oh,
Hotels,
awesome.
on air Russell Hotels T-shirt. So I'm gonna send you one of those, and then yeah, we can exchange that size and all that stuff. So just let me know, and the color,
For
and I'll
sure.
give you the choice of the colors and stuff like that. Okay, I got two more questions. And it's amazing that we've been talking almost an hour, right? You didn't even realize that you've been talking an hour, right? And you didn't want to come on the show either. See, so
That's
I
not
have
true,
two.
Russell.
I have a couple more questions to ask you, and we may, just for the people that listen, we may go a little bit over. Well, we are going to go a little bit over the hour, but these are important questions to ask, and I have to get them out right now. So, non-meat eats. What do you know about non-meat eats, and what are the trends going on now about non-meat eats?
You know, do you do any meal prep at all?
Me personally,
Yeah,
no, I cook on the fly.
you cook on the fly.
Yes,
so
yes.
so here's my first of all, I respect greatly people who abstain from anything meat, sugar, gluten, because you have to put that extra thought into, okay, what am I going to eat, when, and all that stuff. um the vegan train is moving. It's hot, and it's going, right? It's a great space for people who are looking to get into the industry, if you have some knowledge or even just desire to learn about non-meat eats,
Mhm,
because people are realizing that, unfortunately, the hormones that are being pumped into, the cows and the chickens and all the animals to make them grow faster, to keep up with demand, is harming us, right? And so I even, I it, I'm on a personal journey. I've thought about going meatless, because I understand, I see what's happening, right? But I'm addicted. I'm not gonna lie. I'm addicted. I love a chicken wing. I love, like, a certain thing. I love lamb, man. So I said, let's just start with meatless Mondays. We're just gonna just baby steps. Um, but I always recommend people who have dietary restrictions, or whether by choice or for health reasons or whatever, that meal prepping is really, really for anybody. Meal prepping is super helpful because your food's planned out for the next. You can do it for 3 days, you can do it for a week. You already know exactly what you're going to eat, and if you take 1 or 2 days out of the week, make everything, package it up, pop it in the fridge, then you don't have to stress. Um, and there's a lot of companies. That's also an interesting space for people wanting to get into food and beverage, like being the meal prepper. Big money is, I mean, and then
Really?
you're able to. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yeah. There, you prep the food. You give them a menu at the beginning of the week.
Mhm.
People pick their selections. Do 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 do. You prepare it for them, package it up, deliver it to their house. Man, the convenience. You have to pay for that convenience now. That's some, yeah.
I,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, but that's where I see, that's really what comes to my mind, top of mind. Is just that people are doing some interesting things with vegan options and gluten-free options and dairy-free, all the options, right? But meal prepping, to me, even for us lowly meat eaters, meal prep is still, especially if you have a busy schedule, is still helpful, because I get stressed out myself about, man, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of that. I already ate a burrito this week. Like, what do I want to eat? But if you plan it out, then you take that stress away. Take the
oh
stress.
man, that's a good one. I like going on the fly. I like cooking on the fly. In fact, when I say prep, I meaning like I'm today's Taco Tuesday for me here in the house, right? So I'm preparing some mushroom tacos. So like
Yeah.
creminis, oyster, and king mushroom. So shredded and diced up together with some peppers and onions and all that kind of stuff. So, but I prep that, because I'm a prepared maybe after this show, right? So I don't like my daughter. She'll do, well, I'm a meal prep, for the next week. I'm like, I ain't got the
Not with
patience
it.
for that. No, no way. I'm not doing that. No, I'm cooking on the fly. And if I have to eat cereal one day, then I'll just eat cereal one day. So yeah, so that's how I do it. But you know about the non-meat eats. I appreciate you at least knowing about that. And
But let me.
one of
I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna ask you a question before you go to your next question. Here's what I
okay,
don't understand. I was thinking about this the other day. When something is vegan, right? Why do we still call it the thing that it's imitating? This is something I'm gonna have to dive into. So, like, vegan chicken wings, it's not a chicken wing. It's
yeah,
imitating
but
a chicken wing.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
yeah,
the
yeah.
way you identify with it.
That's how
But
people identify, right? I mean,
you
not
got to
just
do
for
something
me,
else.
but for people, non-vegan people, right? So it's a vegan chicken wing or vegan tacos or whatever. I mean, people identify with certain things. I mean, like we call it the cauliflower wings. We call them cauliflower wings, right? Because of chicken wings, right? So
I don't
there's
like it.
a word or name association for everything because people want in their mind, the mind is a crazy thing, right? People have to be comfortable with what they're eating, regardless if it's the real thing or a vegetable thing or whatever. That's just what I think, and that's how I always say it's sushi, but it's vegan sushi, right? Because I eat there's vegan shrimp, there's all kind of stuff because it's associated something that you used to eat. Because I used to eat meat, I ate shrimp,
Hmm.
I ate fish, chicken, whatever. I did wings before, right? But the problem is, I still love them, but they don't love me. So I had to I had to back away from it. But as you get more into this, a vegan diet, yeah, there's some things that are, yeah, vegan fish. I mean, how do you even come up with that? But yeah, they
Yeah.
do, and like I said, it's just to make people more comfortable with it. Oh, okay, it's vegan fish. Oh, okay.
So my plea to the vegan subculture is, let's come up with our own vocabulary for it, because it just does something to me, like, and that's a personal. It's just a personal thing.
Yeah,
Like, it's just,
I understand.
like vegan wings. It's not. a wing. I feel this way also about boneless wings. So it's not an attack on vegan people. A boneless wing is not a wing. It's a piece of it's. I'm okay with you calling it a nugget, but a boneless wing, if for it to be a wing, it needs the bone. Anyway, we can move on. That's a personal. I'm
Yeah, I
glad I
can
have this
see.
outlet
I can.
today to get that out. Thank you,
Yeah,
Russell.
yeah. Anytime, anytime. I can tell that's been bothering you for a minute. That has
I was
been
thinking
bothering you
about
for a
it.
minute.
I don't
Oh,
get
that
it.
is
Yeah.
too funny. All right, all right. So let me just read some of these comments first. I think I said this great conversation about elevating experiences. Look at this collaboration. I agree, Robbie. I enjoyed the natural feel of discussion. Right. Hey, Dylan. Great question. And why do they want it to be vegan shrimp or vegan shrimp? Because we can identify with it that way, Robbie Lynn. Okay, so
Yes.
enough of that. All right. I don't need it from you too. All right.
Robbie's on my
So,
side.
but yeah,
Thank
there's
you.
shrimp. In fact, it's funny. There's this guy introduced me to this vegan restaurant. It's a vegan Vietnamese restaurant, right? And they have this shrimp that is like the best I've ever had in my life. But it's not shrimp; it's vegan shrimp. But it looks like shrimp. So it
Hmm.
it looks like shrimp. I mean, it has the same. It just doesn't have the. It's like a peeled, deveined whatever shrimp. Okay, and it's on once he prepares it. It's like they fry it. It's breaded and fried, and they put some type of sauce on it. It looks like in the presentation, you could not tell me you don't know what it is. You know it as shrimp because you know what shrimp looks like, right? So and it is, I mean, when I say that stuff is fire, that stuff is fire. So whenever you're in LA, we're gonna go to Ah Luck Vietnamese restaurant, and you'd be amazed. I'm telling you, anybody would be amazed of the flavor. I don't know where they come with this flavor. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. The stuff is fire. Okay, so so
I'm
that's what I'm
always
gonna say
down
about
for
that.
an experience. I'm always down to try
Okay,
something new. So
it will definitely be an experience. And then all about the experiences says that's Cheryl says, LOL, I don't like it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we know you're a carnivore. She's a reformed carnivore is what she says. Are Ariel please forgive me, Miss Young. Arylle, I believe that's what it is.
Ariel,
Okay, Ariel,
Ariel.
okay. Ariel Young, I'm with you, Tasha. Vegan mac will never be mac and cheese, so I can call it a tasty noodle dish. You know what? Okay, Ariel. Okay, now I might have to say something here because I make a vegan mac. It's cheese. It's macaroni and it's cheese. It just happens to be vegan cheese, but it's made with either like a soy milk or almond milk or coconut milk. It's still cheese. It's just not made with. It's just not dairy. Okay, so I'm gonna have to jump on you about this one. Okay,
My
sorry.
my thing is, see, it's just it's lazy. That's a it's a, veganism is a whole subculture. People are like loud and proud and doing a thing, and they're even looking down their nose. Some of y'all, I'm not saying you, but some people look down their nose on us little lowly meat eaters. Like, oh, you still eat chicken, right? But then you want to call it, but then you want to call it vegan chicken. Don't look down your nose
Oh
and then try to imitate.
God.
That's all I'm saying. I'm
Okay,
gonna let it go.
okay.
I'm gonna
It's
let it go.
just
I'm gonna let it go.
all
I'll
right.
let
I got
it.
you, but it's just like I'll say it and edit it with this. It's just they just need to associate. We need. I'm not gonna say they. We need
Mhm,
to associate it with something we used to eat. Okay, and then
mhm.
you understand it because if we just said it was some meat dish or some fake meat dish, you'd be like, well, what is it supposed to be?
Mhm.
it open up another conversation for the meat eaters. Like, well, what is it? Well, it's a vegan burger, or it's a vegan shrimp, or it's vegan chicken, or it's cauliflower wings. I mean, I think that's easier to get around. Cauliflower that's in buffalo wing sauce. It's deep fried just like a chicken wing would be. It's kind of sometimes they put it in the shape of a chicken leg or
You don't want to
wing.
be you don't want to be a part of us, but you want to imitate so bad. That's all I'm saying. I get it
Because
though.
it's
I get it. I'm being
association.
somewhat
You get
facetious.
it. I
I
know.
get it.
I
I
know.
get
I know. But I love this conversation. I see. I never had a lively conversation about vegan stuff, and I'm here. I'm here for all that. Okay. So,
it.
Okay, but I do make mac and cheese, right? And it's very good. And in
Mm,
fact, people that eat regular mac and cheese, they're like, "Wow, this is pretty good." Because it has, like I said, it has it does have cheese in it, and I use coconut milk instead of regular milk, or even I use coconut milk in lieu of like almond milk or whatever, and it comes out pretty
mhm.
good. So, but there's some other
Okay.
things you add in there too. And then Robbie says, "Ha ha ha, this is great." Dominique says, "LOL." Robbie says, "We don't trust you, Russell." Okay, what else is in there? All right, okay. And Lauren Brown says, Let's go to LA, Tasha." Okay, all right. You
Let's
don't eat
go. Let's
shrimp, so
go.
you have no idea what it tastes like. She says, "I don't eat shrimp, so you have no idea what it tastes like." Back up, Miss Robbie Lynn. I used to be a meat eater. Okay, I didn't just wake up. I wasn't born like 3 years ago. Okay, I've been a vegan for 3 years. I wasn't just born 3 years ago. I used to eat all this stuff. I know exactly what it tastes like, Miss Lady. And then Lauren says Tasha has started a war in the comments. Yes, you have. And then Lauren, yes, she
Mission
has. And then
accomplished. We can end it
Dominique
now.
is
I'll go. So,
laughing uncontrollably. Okay. So we thank you for that. Okay. Thank you guys for your comments. I do appreciate keep them coming. I just got one more question to ask. Not a question, but maybe, some advice for this person. This person you may have heard of is opening up a new, speaking of vegan, open up a new vegan restaurant in LA. Okay. This person, you may have heard of this person. The person goes by the name of Kevin Hart. Okay. He is opening up a chain of vegan burger joints. So, being you're my go to now restaurant expert now. What advice
all
would
right,
you give Mr. Kevin Hart for operating his restaurant?
Mr. Hart. I love Kevin Hart. By the way, uh, he's funny. Sometimes he laughs prematurely at his own jokes, but it makes you laugh, so it works. But he has the power of his name to bring the people in, right? So people are going to give him a try just because it's Kevin Hart. So the challenge then becomes, how do you keep them, right? How do you keep the people coming back? And so, you know, it's it's a combination of food and service. Really, it's an experience, right? People want to have an
Mm-hmm.
experience when they go out to eat. If I order
Mm-hmm.
takeout or something delivered to my home, I'm just hungry and I need to eat. I'm not searching for an experience. I'm just searching for nutrients, sustenance. But when I go sit down somewhere, I'm looking for an experience. I want to be served. I'm looking for an experience, right? So I think, um, you know, at the risk of tooting our own horn, boom boom, it's the 10 keys. It's the above average
Mm-hmm.
service. How do you give somebody that experience? Because a burger is a burger is a burger. You know what I mean? Like, you can switch up toppings. If you can make a good burger, you can make a good burger. I think most of us probably can say we can make a better burger than McDonald's, right? And so the competition becomes then the whole encompassing service experience, right? Because you're either going to, so in the case of a McDonald's, you're not bringing people back on service. You're bringing them back because of brand recognition, and it's cheap and fast, right? But
Mm-hmm.
in the case of a vegan product, it's probably going to cost more to produce,
Mm-hmm.
so it can't be cheap. It may, if you're doing it from scratch, it may take more time to produce, right? So you might not be able to do it as fast. So it's already not cheap and it's already not fast. So if the quality has to be there and the service has to be there, right? So to me, that's, he can get them in there. That'll be easy. But how do you get people to be the repeat guests? The quality of the food and the quality of the service experience, hands down. It's got
That's
to be it.
true.
Because I can
That's
go
true.
anywhere else and get,
That's
yeah.
true. That's true. Well, we're gonna see. We're gonna see. So I'll make sure if I run into him, I'll pass along a copy of your book so he can take a read. So,
Let's go.
but yeah, so Kevin Hart's restaurant is called Hart House. Is gonna open in LA on August 25th. So a week from this Thursday, it's gonna open. It's not too far from where I live, so I'm gonna be there because I need to not just to support him, but because it's a vegan burger place, and I need another vegan burger place in my life. Okay, so to compare to all the other ones because I have a list of probably about 60 vegan restaurants here in LA, here in and around LA County that I go to on every Saturday. I choose at least one of them every Saturday and go. And there's a couple of vegan restaurant places that are around here that I've tried and like, one's better than the other. And then so I say, okay, there's another now Kevin Hart come out with his, so let me see what's the difference between his product and the other product because like I said, you can get people in there, but how do you keep them coming back? Because there's a couple of these restaurants I haven't been back to. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
and it could be
Mm-hmm.
because I have 60 of them to get to. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And they're not on that list. So, but when I'm, in a mood for a burger, a vegan burger, and I don't want to make it myself, then normally the one that I go to is basically the one that's closest. So
Mm-hmm.
that's basically how I do it. But anyway, all right. Well, you know what? We're out of time. I thank you so much for joining us. Remember, Miss Chef. I call you Chef, right? Yeah, I've
Of
been calling
course.
you that.
Yes, you
So
can.
anyway, Chef Tasha Jackson. Average, above average service is the book. 10 keys to above service average. To above average service. God, I'm speaking. I can't even speak. You got me all tongue tied or whatever. So once again, 10 Keys to Above Average Service. That's the book. She's going to send it to me. I'll make sure I blow it up as much as I can on my end. I appreciate everything that you're doing. I appreciate you teaching, on the high school level that people that may not even know that this is a viable career choice out there, hospitality, whether it's restaurant, whether it's a hotel, travel, whatever. I just think that we need a little bit more outreach out there, and I'm the biggest proponent of that. And I'll say that until I mean that's one reason why I put this show out is because I want the people to know that there are options out there for career choices. So, but I do appreciate everyone that's listened today and made your comments. I appreciate all about the experiences. As Cheryl, I spent like a whole week with Cheryl last week in Detroit. If you ever need a VIP experience of getting into places, Cheryl Rogers is a person you need to hang out with. Dylan Beaumont, I appreciate you always. You're the general manager at the Fairfield Inn in Eugene, Oregon. Lauren Brown, I appreciate you. You always come with it, Lauren. I appreciate the stuff that I appreciate the skits that you do regarding hospitality. If you're not following Lauren Brown, you need to because she's a real deal and she knows service as well, and and she brings it all the time. Robbie Moncrief, Robert Lynn, I appreciate you down there in Texas. Dominique Patrice, I appreciate you. Ariel Young, I go through the list because I do appreciate people that they come and they listen and they make comments. So, I mean, like I said, at the very least, you're going to get me talking about you. So, but I appreciate you guys. I do this every Tuesday, 1 o'clock PST. It's called On Air with Russell of Hotels. Sometimes I have guests, not as dynamic as this young lady here, but, every now and then we do have, some other guests that come on that we just have conversations. We just have conversations about, what they do, how they got to where they are. It's not any hard conversation. It's enlightening. I mean, we learned something today about service and things like that, and things in the restaurant industry and how she came up and the hours that you have to put in. But you put in your time, and the sky's the limit from there. So there you go. But I'm gonna give you the last words, Chef. So you got any last words for us, Chef Tasha Jackson?
Oh, I appreciate the opportunity to come on your show. It was truly an honor. Had fun. If anybody's interested in learning more about above average service, feel free to reach out. You can follow me on Instagram at Hospitality Hacks Pro. That's the name of our company is Hospitality Hacks, and we're gonna keep pushing and sharing and have fun while we're doing it. And we're just looking to continue to help people and help people because we're in the service industry and it's all about making somebody stay. So that's really it. That's really it. We signing off. Thank you so much, and Thank you to the people who are on my side in the vegan conversation. I
Yeah,
see you.
whatever.
I see you. For people watching the replay,
Whatever.
let them know in the comments. I think I'm right.
Whatever. Whatever. We could disagree or agree or whatever on that. But vegan people, like I said, we just have to be associated with something. Like if it looks like a chicken wing, then we're gonna call it a vegan chicken wing. If it looks like
Mm-hmm.
a burger, we're gonna call it a vegan burger. That's just how it is. If it looks like shrimp, we're gonna call it vegan shrimp, okay? But my thing is, and I
It's
and
no
I hate
show.
to
I'm gonna
keep
let
going,
you have it.
but okay, thank you. But try some of the stuff. My advice to
I
people that
will. I
just
will.
try it. I mean, because it's easy to sit back and say, "Oh, well, that's not that, that's not this." But if you haven't tried it, you don't know what it tastes like. Okay, and most non-vegan people won't even try vegan food. You know what I mean? They're like, "Oh no, I heard that it's nasty, or I heard I'm not gonna like it." You don't know what you're gonna like until you try it. So just try things. My kids that do that all the time. They're like, "Oh, I don't eat that." What do you mean you don't eat it? You never even tried it before. Try it and then say, form an opinion. Okay, I don't like it because of this. Okay, it's gritty. It don't taste like shrimp or whatever it is. Doesn't have the consistency. But whatever, just try it and then let me know. Okay, try it
That's
and let
fair.
me know.
That's fair.
All right, is
That's
that
fair.
fair?
All right.
All
That's
right,
fair.
we're gonna end it there. Thank you so much for joining
All
On
right.
Air with Russell of Hotels. Thanks again for Miss Chef Tasha Jackson. We do appreciate her coming on. This has to be the longest show in On Air with Russell of Hotels history, but that's okay. We're
Record.
like an hour and 22 minutes, but that's okay because it's my show and we can go as long as we want to go. So, but anyway, you guys take care. And make sure you join and make sure you hit that button that says subscribe on YouTube. I would appreciate it. And follow me on my other social media platforms as well. That's IG, that's LinkedIn, that's Facebook, that's Twitter, whatever else. I'm even on TikTok every now and then. So anyway, you guys take care. You guys have a great week. It's Taco Tuesday. Remember, I'm having tacos today, mushroom tacos. So I'll make sure I post about that later. Okay.
Good.
Peace.
All
Thank you
right.
for joining On Air with Russell of Hotels. Please tune in every Tuesday at 1 p.m. as we talk to other hospitality professionals. Your feedback is important to Russell. Feel free to email him at russell@russellofhotels.com with any questions or suggestions. Until next time, try not to be a person of success, rather become a person of great value.